All right, y'all, we're live, and I am and we decided we were going to do this, and so um, maybe that's why she's running late. But I hope everybody's having a great day. It's an absolutely beautiful day today. Long weekend. It was kind of nice. Got to get some stuff done. Um, and somehow, for the very first time in recent memory, we all came down with something that somehow everybody has recently been having. We were talking to people in Indiana and here and there and everywhere. And somehow we all get something like basically in the middle of what we would call summer, but it ran its course relatively quickly. And I'm waiting for the missus. She's a minute late, but I don't want to drag this out. So what I wanted to do, and I really need my wife's help doing this, is there was this document that was discovered in the 70s. And so I guess what I'll do while waiting for Faith is we'll start reading this, and you can find this. You can find a PDF of this document at stopthecrime.net. I think the first time this document was referenced was maybe William Cooper's Behold the Pale Horse. That was written in 91 or something like that. But this is a top secret silent weapons for quiet wars. Well, here she is. She made it, y'all. She is gracing us with her presence. And she's all set up. NC from Northern Texas. Where you at in Northern Texas? We got Eddie down in San Marcos, and then we got NC from Northern. So we're covering the gamut.
Nice. Very nice.
Just let us know that our audio and our video is good.
I feel far away.
Far away.
There we go.
Well, get yourself situated, mother.
There we go.
You can my
good evening. Good evening. Oh, we're gonna have some fun tonight.
Faith is really into like top secret government documents. And I was out working on the blueberries.
What?
Oh, DFW. Okay, so you're not that far away. You're a couple hours away. You NC, you should come to our meetup on June 8th. It's going to be in Gladewater.
8th. Yes.
And we had folks from Arlington drive last time. So
our carniversary.
And that's going to be our carniversary, 1 year carniversary.
1 year carnivore.
Check out the website for all the details.
Yes.
We're looking forward to it. It's a great time last time.
Yes.
I think we're going to be grilling some grass-fed beef buggers.
Our own.
I think we're going to procure a brand new grill for that. So
yes,
we're looking forward to the festivities.
If you want a burger served to you
and
by
hanging
the
with
Texas
y'all.
Boys.
Texas Boys beef.
Grilled
by the Texas Boys, served by the Texas Boys.
I think they're out tonight actually looking at grills.
Yeah, they're getting supplies for a job, and they're probably purchasing a grill. If I know James.
The really fun thing about it too is that at this meet and greet that we're going to do is that this is the second one. Did you already say William from Permaculture?
No, I haven't announced anything.
So William from the Permaculture Consultant is going to be there. You can go over to TheTexasBoys.com and get all of the information. And we're going to be updating the information also under our community tab on YouTube.
And I'll say it right now. So at Grumpy's, it's going to depend on if you're coming southbound or northbound. If you're coming southbound, you're going to take the second driveway. If you're coming northbound, you're going to take the first driveway, which doesn't have a gate. And we're meeting at the pavilion on the back of the property because the chapel was scheduled. So I think they're having a wedding there, but we still have plenty of room, and we're going to be at the pavilion in the back. and there's tons of shade, and it's super cool.
Yes.
And it's going to be great.
And there's going to be burgers and
burgers. We're going to have like a barter session, maybe, if anybody wants to bring items to barter.
Yes.
Grumpy might have some plants there, depending on what his inventory is. He's going to have muscadine popsicles and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah. So bring some camp chairs if you have them. Definitely, you want to be comfortable to sit around and chat. And also feel free to bring like a plastic folding table or anything you need for like barter, sell, trade, any kind of home goods or homemade crafts, or what else, like farm goods. If you have extra eggs, anything like that, it's all about just building that type of community network. So, and William from the Permaculture Consultant YouTube channel is going to be with us again this month, and he is going to be there to just kind of bounce questions off of him. If you have any type of permaculture, gardening, land, layout questions, design stuff, we'll be there as well to help answer anything y'all want to talk about.
We're coming to hang out, talk, create community, answer questions, say hi, enjoy each other's company, IRL.
Should we bring some coffee and
we are honey? Bringing some coffee and honey just like last time. We've already had some special requests for pecan honey, so we're bringing pecan honey.
Sweet.
And we're going to be bringing some coffee.
Fun.
And just a little background, Stripe debanked us because we sell CBD coffee. And so I petitioned it. So very much like GooTube and everybody else, I said, hey, our stuff is locally sourced hemp, no THC, so it doesn't qualify, the blah, blah, blah. And they're like, too bad. So what that means is anybody that was a native, anybody that was part of the parenting course, like it just blows up all of our subscriptions. So now we're processing through Square, and we'll see if the same happens or whatever. But so you can still make purchases. Now you can make purchases again on the website. We are going to be rolling out a new native program.
Yes.
So it's still going to be $5 to be a native. And we're going to do a private live stream Q&A once a month for our natives. So if you want to become a native, go on over there and subscribe. It's $5 a month. There's also a private Telegram group with some behind the scenes stuff. I know that Matt coordinates that kind of stuff. So we just want to try to add some value there. There'll probably be some discount codes and some other things there as well. So if you want to be a native, and if you were a native, unfortunately, you have to go back and sign up because that's the way these things work. And just another clerical thing. We don't do anything with your credit cards. We don't process it. We don't store it. We don't house it, which is why.
See it.
Yeah. Which is why when Stripe pulls the plug on us, we don't have any of that. It's totally gone.
Right. So are you, just for clarification, so if they were natives or if they were enrolled in our courses or anything like that, they should wait and join up with the membership that's going to be on YouTube? For the
No. Stay away from YouTube. Don't jack with any YouTube membership.
Oh,
this is going to be a native membership on our website. We're not going to cut YouTube in for 30%.
So you're gonna do a native.
It's already on there. It's the same native membership.
And then you're going to give them a code to access a private.
Right. We'll email out the private address for the private live stream.
I just wanted to clarify because I was thinking
clarification.
You were saying a YouTube membership.
No.
Okay, so this is
I can't think of a bigger waste of money than giving all of the 30% of it to.
So all the information for the new native will be on the website.
Well, the native area is still there. You can still become a native and you do it the same way. And now it's going to be stored with Square. So it should continue to function moving forward.
Okay. So we're all good.
We got a lot of Houston peeps in the house.
Hey, Houston.
Carrollton. So
nice.
We love our Texas people, which is why we're doing so. And also, if you're Texas people, go on over to our events tab. There's other events happening in Texas. We're going to be speaking at a family conference.
Yes.
In Grapeland. So that's closer to y'all down there in Houston and whatnot.
Yes.
And I'm praying for y'all in Houston. It's not easy to live in Houston. That's like borderline third world.
And the conference, all the information for the conference this fall, it's going to be in November. Am I saying that right?
November 8th or 9th or somewhere around there.
Right. And it's a 5-day conference, but you can just pop in for the day as well if you wanted to. But all the information is at TheTexasBoys.com, and you can find out accommodations that you need. It's a really, really nice venue there. It's very Texas and it's really cool, but it's also really low key. And it's just a great group of people. If you're just looking for a really cool group of homeschool families that are conservative to get together with, they are going to be your people down there in November. So we are really looking forward to getting together with some really great families again in November.
Yes. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. We actually had to reschedule a vacation and move a bunch of stuff around. And it's a really cool story. God blessed us and we did it, and it ended up being even better.
Yes.
And so, and I think right after the election, it's going to be a great time for normal, logical, rational people to all get together, because there's a very good chance that things won't be very logical, rational. So it could be kind of
that's true,
challenging, interesting times.
Be
the second week of November. So different things to think about.
It's
might be a good time to
the day after election day, I believe. Yes. Right.
So, and it will be a very secured venue.
Yes,
because
it's the whole venue is rented out just for our homeschool groups conference there.
Incredibly secure.
The name of the conference is Sanctified, and it's going to be all revolving around that, and just a real casual, fun time for families. Just and the camp. There's like cabins and there's like houses, small houses that are available for rent. There's also RV hookups, and you can tent camp if you wanted to. So there's lots of different accommodations, but they are limited. So if you have any interest in at all, and there's already a large group that's already tied into these events, so it'll get booked up really quickly.
Now, some people are getting very mad because we're 11 minutes in.
Oh, sorry.
And they're they're not. So they're going to comment in the comments. Okay. They don't even start talking.
They're keeping us on track. Okay. We're blabbing now.
So, okay. So this is Top Secret Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars Operations Research Technical Manual, TWSW 7905.1. And this has been verified that this was a government document. And, let's see. I think they found it in 79, but it comes from 1954. So, as in with all of these things, that the dates are really important, because when you get a historical date that is like 80 some years old, and then you have this format of what they're doing, and then you're just like, wow, well, they've been planning this for a really long time. We're watching it come to fruition. And what that shows you clearly is that the social planners are ensconced where they are. And there is no right left paradigm. Like, the machine is the machine, the beast is the beast be beast. And what's fascinating is they say the quiet part out loud. They write this stuff down. They allow you. Now, there's a certain, there's something called revelation of the method. And there are some people that teach that the way Satanists garner their power is they tell you what they're going to do before you do it. So, like, stick it in your face, and that's how they generate power. But Satan is the prince and the power of the air. And we were having a discussion yesterday, and people always talking about, oh, isn't that guy a COINTELPRO or an agent? And Mike Adams came up, and we were being scolded for talking to Mike Adams. And here's the thing. Satan can choreograph many, many things, and we don't really need an Illuminati or a Bilderberg or anything like that. I just said like every like shadow ban word. So, and they're going to like super suppress this, which is fine. Great. This is on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter. But anyway, you know, it's I digress. I'm going to jump into the contents. This thing has a table of contents. It's formatted. You can find this PDF at stopthecrime.net in their docs section. You can find it on YouTube. There's a really awesome dude that read through it. I love that kind of stuff, like in an audiobook format. So while your hand is as Jim Rohn says, that while your hands are busy and your mind is free to think, and you're weeding the garden, or you're planting, or you're doing these things that don't require as much thought, you can use that time. So I was listening to this today, and I sent it to Faith, and I was like, this is so fascinating, because we talk about the family all the time. We talk about the home, and the fundamental of this document is to deconstruct the home. And this is why we talk all the time about gender roles, the male role and the female role. And we had some people get their cackles up. We had some mother hens. I don't want to understate that or overstate that, but we had some feminine types. They got all cackled because, we were talking about women ruling, and, we weren't speaking of it in this like shiny, happy people, happy face thing, so we were, but the point is,
what's your point?
And the point that I want to make is, there is a paradigm. There's a modern day paradigm that says, when the men aren't willing to do what they're supposed to do, that women have to stand up and do it. And what about Deborah and all this stuff, right? But my point is just because a woman steps up and does it, it's not the equivalent of a man doing it. And if women are busy doing what men are supposed to do, who is doing what women are supposed to do? Oh, what kind of misogynist statement? What are you talking about? What I'm talking about is raising, training, and elevating the next generation as we proliferate, as we be fruitful and multiplied and do what we're actually commanded to do, instead of the inverse, which is like, kids are expensive and the future is scary. Right. Well, as we're busy doing that, if we're actually doing it, and the reality is a lot of people just aren't doing it. They're scared. They're effeminate. They're estrogenized. They've been drinking the BPA and the BPE and doing all these different things. And we are attacked on every facet. And this is a full scale war on the home. It's a war on the man. It's exclusively a war on the white man, which is weird and interesting, especially since most of the power brokers are like old white dudes or whatever. And it's a war on the home, and you can't make anything great again unless you go back to the basics.
It's true.
So unless we're willing to sacrifice our dual income, no kids, and our career and all this stuff. Like, when I became a father, I sacrificed all my hobbies and all my stuff. And I'm like, there's a larger, greater cause. And this isn't even, okay, we can get into the patriotic stuff, y'all. And I am beyond thankful that I was born here, and I do not take it for granted. And I don't just talk about it either. I'm taking full advantage of all the freedoms that we have, giving my opinion. I'm working within the enterprise system to maximize all of that too, not just talking about it.
I just heard, actually, it was Dawn from the Minimal Mom, just because it is Memorial Day, and she said, I think it was 1.5 million to date. I think 1.5 million people have died for our freedoms that we have today. And that's not counting all of the men and women who have suffered just other things, not death, but they've actually
PTSD, suicided,
lived through it, and they've just have
limbs,
forever scars from it. So, I mean, we don't take our freedoms lightly. We live in a super blessed country, and to whom much is given, much is required.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We teach our boys that our boys are going to be required to be that much more And it's going to sound weird, y'all. They're going to be required to be that much more manly, that much more masculine, that much more of a leader, that much more of a Christian, that much more of a biblicist, like biblical principles in action,
and to study history, to know history,
and to study real history
yes,
and true history, unrevised history, and not all this fourth wave feminist history, not all this patriotic history. I mean, you're watching more of these alternative media types. I mean, once you start deconstructing World War I and World War II, and you realize that not only were they easily avoidable, but they were machinations of the bankers, right? And then you read a document like this written in 1954,
yeah,
right? And then you think of all this current shenanigans. Okay, you think of the UN, and then now there's a UN nation state in the Middle East that's creating like total chaos. There's a UN nation state in the Middle East creating total chaos. That was a machination of the UN, and that started Balfour like way before World War II. And then because of that, it had all the excuses and reasons to supposedly materialize and even become a nuclear power and all this like unexplainable
they
stuff.
know if they can deconstruct manhood and womanhood, then they can blur the lines, then they can deconstruct the family, which will deconstruct civilization. And then they can have total control. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And, you know, they write this stuff. Club of Rome wrote their 1970 treatise all about global warming and how they were going to do it. This was written in 1954. I'm pretty sure they say it was adopted by the very first Bilderberg meeting. And so, historical introduction. Silent weapon technology has evolved from operations research, OR, a strategic and tactical methodology developed under the military management in England during World War II. So we're talking about the Anglo-American establishment. We're talking about Carroll Quigley. We're talking about tragedy and hope. Okay. The original purpose of operations research was to study the strategic and tactical problems of air and land defense with the objective of effective use of limited military resources against foreign enemies, i.e., logistics. It was soon recognized by those in positions of power that the same methods might be useful for totally controlling a society, but better tools were necessary. This is just the great things that come out of war. This is what, when we were destroying the Nazis and spreading freedom at the tip of a bomb everywhere, and when we were dropping democracy on everybody and straightening Japan out and straightening out Germany and Russia and all that great stuff, this is the fruit of that. This is what they figured out, the logistics. And this is what makes, when you start thinking about Operation Paperclip and supposedly all the guys we were fighting, we prepackaged them and we brought them over here to do Mengele experiments on all of us. It really makes you like, well, wait a minute. If we were fighting them and the supposed cause was to destroy and defeat the Nazis, but then we bring them all here and Werner Braun and all these other Paperclip guys are part of all of our like big budget. They were all at the top of all the big budget stuff. Social engineering, the analysis and automation of society, requires the correlation of great amounts of constantly changing economic information data. So a high-speed computerized data processing system was necessary, which would race ahead of society and predict when society would arrive for capitulation. So this is called the technocracy, y'all. And I emailed Patrick Wood. I'm going to try to have Patrick Wood on the podcast, but Patrick Wood goes super deep into the technocracy and he covers all this stuff, and which flows right into transhumanism and all this stuff. You shall be as gods and you will live forever, like Brian Johnson. He's like shooting his kid's blood and all stuff, plasma transfer. And but we're watching this systemically unfold, right? And so once we can calculate the data, we can steer the people, and then we can predict capitulation. Relay computers were too slow. But the electronic computer invented in 1946 by J. Presper Eckert and John W. Macaulay filled the bill. The next breakthrough was the development of the simplex method of linear programming in 1947 by mathematician George B. Danzig. Then in 1948, the transistor invented by J. Bardeen, H. Brayton, and W. Shockley promised great expansion of the computer field by reducing space and power. With these three inventions under their direction, those in positions of power strongly suspected that it was possible for them to control the whole world with the push of a button. Immediately, the Rockefeller Foundation got in on the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College. So now we're watching this conspiracy flood into the ivory towers of higher learning that we keep wanting to farm our kids out. We farm our kids out, we farm it and finance it. And this next great financial bubble is this student loan bubble. And we financed it, and then we're going to pop it, y'all. And we are paying for the brainwashing of our own children. And furthermore, when a far better and higher and greater calling for our godly women in America is to stay home and operate and function the home economics, right? And to do all those things and manage all these things and make them to multiply, right? It's just like permaculture is when you act on it. And this is what's so fascinating. Oh, kids are expensive, and it's expensive to have a family and all these things. But when you have a homemaker making that home and making it efficient, and then teaching and training the children to be more efficient and more productive, it becomes a synergistic harmony that is exponential, right? Which is why they've deconstructed, oh no, go to college, become rebellious, move off to the Pacific Northwest or to Silicon Valley, right, or to Hollywood.
Or even before that, just breaking up the family. You can do it by just sending your children to a good Christian school. And, you know, 5 different little children go to 5 different directions, and everybody has their own classrooms. The siblings don't see each other all day. They don't get to form those deep connections and those deep relationships. And it's just different. It's very different than when they're home all day.
Yeah, and you have all these churches, right? And they ship their kids everywhere, and then their kids don't come back, and the churches are dying. Yeah, no duh. Right. No duh. Instead of training and teaching and showing your children, right, in your home and in your church, right, you ship them out. Right. You sub it out.
And I think it's harder to keep a bunch of children home and homeschool them, right? There's a sacrifice that goes with that. And it's a lot of work. It's easier to drop them off at the Christian school and let them all go to their separate classrooms. You go to work for the day, or you go back home for the day and enjoy a nice quiet house and wait for the children to come home. It keeps everything in these nice, neat little boxes, but at the cost of what? At the cost of the family relationships. That is what I would argue, just based upon our own experience with seeing everything firsthand. And also, I was thinking, could you speak to what if you don't have children? So what for the young married couples who don't have children yet, or for the couples that may never be blessed with children?
What
would be the benefits of this order?
Yeah, as a man, you can still be ultra productive and produce more, right? And to be abundant, and then to share that with the fatherless and the widow, to share it with other families, to be that example, to maybe be an employer for someone that has raised sons with work ethic that are great producers of abundance, that might want to team up with another business owner or something like that, another farmer. And you don't violate the order because you got thrown a curveball or because you weren't perfectly on the median of the bell curve. You know, the order remains the same. The created order doesn't change. The only time the order changes is when there's a mutation. And when there's a mutation, mutations form tumors, and tumors become cancers, and they metastasize and they grow. And then what you have is this ugly, monstrous glob of dead cells. And that's what the deconstruction of the home is. That's what the deconstruction of Christian womanhood is. It's the deconstruction of biblical manhood and being the patriarch and the leader. You know, there's all this Shekinah, and there's all this Mithra, and all this Baha'i, this co-creator, Babylonian mystery religion, the divine spark, Lilith, the divine feminine, all this stuff that, the age of Aquarius, men and women are equal. And when they all morph into an just this ubiquitous mass of creativity, then all will be one and there will be peace. Because really the problem is like men hate women.
So, right. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah. No, I love my wife. I love my daughter. I am more protective and more providential for my wife and my daughter than I am for my sons, because in a large way, my sons can provide for themselves. That's called being a man. That's called raising a man. And you teach them to be a man. And you know what? When my boys were younger and they were full of like testosterone, like, shut your mouth. You don't talk to your mom like that unless you want me to slap you in the face. Like, you don't talk to your mom like that. That's my wife, and you don't talk to her like that. We don't. And there is a great quote, and I should have queued it up, y'all. I should have queued it up, and we're going to hit it on another video.
Just for clarification, we don't parent by slapping anybody in the face.
No, but
I'm just saying we don't. You were just speaking.
It was hyperbole.
Okay.
But, well, I mean, right. It was very like, well, you keep doing that. Maybe we do slap people in the face. It's never happened.
It's never happened in our home.
Yeah. But the point is like, and that's what men do. And that's how men communicate with each other. And it's okay. And, we're alpha warriors. That's war talk, and war talk is okay. I mean, that's what men do. And you can engage with your sons in war talk because they're warriors and they're going to grow. And then, of course, nobody's advocating for any type of physical abuse. Of course not. Right. That's always this hyperbolic knee-jerk reaction. It's this emotional, effeminate, fourth wave feminism. You overreact emotionally. And y'all, it's all right in here. It's all in the document. There's stuff in this document that is so true and that I can't even say, because the descriptions is incredibly accurate. And it's all about the deconstruction of the home, the emasculating of the man, and the Sally Steamfitter butchifying of the woman and putting her in the workforce and devaluing the dollar. It is all part of the deconstruction of the home. And somebody mentioned 5G. Yeah, dude, you could eradicate all the estrogens and all the soy and all the 5G. And we could legislate that all away. If we don't fix the home, it doesn't even matter, dude. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that when you have the opportunity to be in your home every day and disciple your children as they come to a knowledge of the Lord, as the Holy Spirit draws them to faith and repentance, and the Lord works in their heart to convert them, you have this opportunity to disciple them. And when you have a father who is that strong, masculine protector, provider, leader, your young men, they model what they see. So they see a father that gives ultimate respect and honor to women, right? To myself and my daughter, that they care for, they provide, they convalesce to us, they take care of us. I mean, as we're making this video, my oldest is out mowing the lawn. They just worked a full day. They left.
I think Buddy's mowing the lawn.
Yeah, they left at 7:00 this morning. They put in a full day's work. I think 2 of them are getting supplies for their work day tomorrow. And picking up a grill, I think. And then I think, Buddy's out there mowing the grass. Like, nobody asked them to do that. They do things because they are responsible men, and because they've seen their father have strong work ethic and just massive respect.
Man, I've told them, I'm like, look, if you're going to work and you're going to make money and you're going to make enough money and make more than enough money, we've always like, hey, look, you are going to want a wife that keeps the home. You're going to have to keep her. My wife is mine. She is my treasure, and I keep her. Tell them what your budget is. What's your monthly budget?
My monthly budget?
What's your monthly budget?
Well, I have two. I have one for groceries, and then one for household and personal expenses.
And what it and
I shouldn't say what it is. Why?
Okay.
It's personal.
Prior to say 6 months ago.
I don't want to say.
Okay, before you set a monthly budget, what was your monthly budget?
Well, I didn't really have a monthly budget before that.
What do you mean?
That was a poor excuse. So
what do you mean?
I don't recommend that.
I don't recommend it either.
Okay.
But
it's much better.
It's very much better to have a budget, y'all. But my point is I provided for my wife and my family unbridled.
Yes. Right. Abundantly.
Abundantly, yes. Without exception. Hey, I'm not recommending you do that.
No, that's not the best.
that's not being a good steward, so to speak. Right. But at the same time, that is my passion, and that is my heart, and that is what I do. Right. And that's what I did. Right. And I did it, and there was like a 5, 6, 7 year period, and I thought I was permanently disabled, and I didn't sleep for 4 or 5 years. And that's not hyperbolic. I didn't sleep. I had a destroyed shoulder. I couldn't sleep. And I went to work every single day, and I made a lot of money. And by the grace of God, I was able to work for 5 or 6 years with 0 sleep and still make a lot of money. And I still make a lot of money. And that's not bragging. I'm in America. I should make a lot of money. I shouldn't be clocking in and clocking out some stupid dead-end cog, worker bee, Prussian, Russian, stupid nonsense. Why? Because I appreciate the opportunities I have.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, it is Memorial Day. It's a time to be thankful of these things. And we've really, I think you have instilled that in our boys, that they've always been industrious. Like the beauty of the homeschooling opportunity, if you're able to give that opportunity to your children, and it comes at a sacrifice and a cost, but
very expensive,
when you do that for your children, we've always been under the idea of then they should do something exceptional when they come into those early teenage years. Or even before that, they should start to learn entrepreneurial things. They should start to have their own little businesses. They should be doing something outside of the box because their education was outside of the box.
And that's what free people do. If you're not economically free, you are a slave. And look,
it's scary. Yeah. It doesn't fit in the box. Like, I mean, there was definitely times and years that I doubted and was like, I wonder where this is going.
Sure.
Should they just get a job in town? I don't know.
That's far scarier to me.
But that's very scary. And it's like, you just have to trust the process that, anyway, we're not going to get
trust the process, trust the order. There is an order. And here's the other thing I'll say about being abundant and generating a lot. It will not. Okay. There was a period of time in America called the Great Depression where nobody made any money except for the top half of 1%, just like those that have been redistributed to.
Absolutely.
And that time is very likely coming in very soon. So I'm under no delusion. But all the more reason to make hay while the sun shines.
Right.
All the more reason. And, what do you recommend for my husband? He can't find a job, and boo-hoo, and wah. Look, and bad stuff happens, and people get fired for the wrong reasons. Okay, our camera went out there for a second. People get fired for the wrong reason. And bad stuff happens.
Or you live in an economically depressed area. I mean, that is a real thing. You might have to move.
Maybe. I got canned and I was supposed to have 15% equity over practice. And I got literally ripped out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Did I cry about it? Did I suck my thumb? Did I blame somebody else? No, I got on my horse and I reinvented myself. And I worked in but you went to college for 7 years and that was your major. Yeah. So what? I'm going to do something else and I'm going to do it even better. And I'm going to make even more money. And I'm not going to blame that fat slob, some financial advisor that filed personal bankruptcy and he can't get blood out of a rock. Why am I going to sue him? No, he can He can go eat a sandwich and whatever, and I'm going to succeed in spite of him, and then I'm going to be able to buy and sell him. Just and look, and if it takes spite to motivate you, use that. Use. I'm not saying that's a good method or model, but use what you got, to get where you need to get to, and then you can work. You can develop yourself along the way.
Absolutely. And I mean, for single mom parents, we've known people along the way, even for 2 income working parents, that they had to work to pay their bills that they had, but then they still homeschooled. They paid for another homeschool mom to babysit their kids during the day. And when they got off work in the evening, mom and dad, whoever was home, homeschooled, and they made it happen. So there's always ways.
There's always ways. And here's something real important. Me and my wife are happily married. We have 6 kids. Would you say we've always been happily married? It's not. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
Long time. Yeah.
We've been married a long time. A lot of bumps in the road.
That's right.
Lots of stuff. If you're a single mom or a single dad, honestly, I can't help you. I mean, I can't relate. I can give you basic principles that work, and
it doesn't mean that it's that way forever either. Right. Even if you're married and you're going through things aren't always bad.
Last year, I thought I was going to be permanently disabled.
Yeah. Many times.
I thought I was going to be permanently disabled. And, when you're facing your own mortality and, and then what do you do? What does that look like? How do you do it? Well, you kind of cross that bridge when you get there, right. And,
absolutely. And what I was saying is too, could you speak to the value of, these newly married couples that don't have children in the home? What is the value of the woman in the home, or the couples that
preparing?
They don't ever have children. They're never blessed with children. What is the value then of the order and the woman being in the home?
The order stays the same. The order is the same. And if they never, to say you're never going to have, there's many women in the Bible that prayed for children, and then at a later age, God gave them children. Mm-hmm. So,
the value of the order isn't children.
No, the value of the order is the order. God created Adam first. That was the order. He created a helper for him. He created Eve to help him. And so together they can create abundance. And that may be children. Maybe part of that abundance is children. Maybe part of that abundance is a business. Maybe part of that abundance is a ministry in their church where they are demonstrating the order in spite of the fact that they don't currently have children, but they are not violating the order to prove a point or, well, our circumstances. Well, your circumstances don't change the biblical order, and some people have a really big problem. I got chastised for referencing the Bible as my sole authority because I wasn't like hippie, new agey, woo-woo enough. I need to close the Bible and talk to the Holy Spirit. So, I was trying to explain to this fourth wave feminist that that's not how truth is self-evident, and when you read the Bible, that truth is self-evident. And we don't know. Hey, look, you don't know the created order without the Bible. You don't know who was formed first. You don't know who was formed second. You don't know what happened. You know nothing of Christ without scripture. If you saw Christ in a vision, you need to reevaluate. Okay. And I realize there's all this Muslim stuff and there's all these super crazy Pentecostally New Ager people. And I know what's going on in the Middle East with all these people getting saved by seeing visions of Jesus. That is not scriptural. And so if it's not scriptural, we have no concept of who Christ is without scripture. Right. So you got to start at the beginning. And that's all part of this. And it's all fundamental. It's all foundational. Yeah. And our plastic of problems. And, should we recycle more? Should we eat organic? Yeah. All those things are good. They're all great things to talk about. They're great things to study. But we could annihilate all of these pollutants. We could do all these things if we don't get the home right, if we don't get the family right. It's for nothing. It's for naught. And here's the other thing. Okay. A little bit of self-preservation, a little, what's the term? I'm trying. There's I'm being a little self-serving because I want my young men to have godly young women that aren't so ensconced and enamored with the world, enamored with the culture, enamored with the ivory tower educational system. I mean, we've seen time and time again that we have been co-opted by all these things, and we can't keep bowing the knee to this co-opted system. Certainly not the educational system. I mean, if 2024 doesn't tell us anything, your MBA is not worth the paper it's printed on. It's certainly not worth, the amount of money that it costs you to get. It's certainly absolutely worthless. And what's far more expensive than that stupid piece of paper is the pollution that your child has received at the end of from these communist Marxists. And I don't even care if it's Hillsdale. I don't care if it's some supposed air quotes Christian college or whatever, where your daughter is going to study to how to be a secretary. Like you got to take a class on how to be a secretary. Like it's that complicated. Like it's that hard. Like you need to go to college to learn how to use a word processor.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many opportunities.
It's so stupid.
I mean, even for young women today to work at home, there's editor, there's so many things. There's bookkeeping.
And you can work under the instruction of your father and of your family, or of an older man in your life. Okay, oh, my dad's dead. Okay, find an older man. Find an elder at your church. You can work under the instruction of some type of biblical leadership and produce abundance.
I would just say in no other time in history have we had so much opportunity as women or young ladies to be more creative, to be able to work from home. I mean, with the internet and all that it brings to us, it's literally limitless what we could do with a home industry.
Why is it limitless? Energy is recognized as the key to all activity on Earth. Natural science is the study of sources and control of natural energy. And social science, theoretically expressed as economics, is the study of the sources and control of social energy. Both are bookkeeping systems, mathematics. Therefore, mathematics is the primary energy science, and the bookkeeper can be king if the public can be kept ignorant of the methodology of the bookkeeping. Y'all, if you read this and you don't get it, Chris Martenson, Peak Prosperity. This is what Chris Martenson has been talking about for probably a decade, and how energy is the reason they want to destroy energy. The reason they hate oil is because it produces a metric ton of energy. It's abiotic and it does reproduce itself, and keep believing the fossil fuel myth and all that stuff. But energy is a key component to productivity. All science is merely a means to an end. The means is knowledge. The end is control. Beyond this remains only one issue: who will be the beneficiary? In 1954, this was the issue of primary concern, although the so-called moral issues were raised in view of the law of natural selection. So now you got the eugenicists, right? You got Charles Darwin, and you got Aldous Huxley, and the other Darwin's bulldog, the other Huxley, right? And you got all the white eugenicist guys, right? And Malthus and Malthusian economics and Keynesian economics, right? And what is it? It's control. And what is it? Depopulation. And what is it? There's too many people. And what is it? So what do we have now? Collapsing populations. We have extinction events occurring in America. Why is there like mass invasions by UN soldiers into America is going to be a prerequisite just to preserve our population density. And I think it's interesting that China isn't doing that. But that's interesting. Consequently, in the interest of the future world order, peace, and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the American public with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and worthy few. That's called wealth redistribution. In order to implement this objective, it was necessary to create, secure, and apply new weapons, which, as it turned out, were a class of weapons so subtle and sophisticated in their principle of operation and public appearance as to earn themselves the name silent weapons.
Wow.
In conclusion, the objective of economic research as conducted by the magnates of capital, banking, and the industries of commodities, goods, and services is the establishment of an economy which is totally predictable and manipulatable. And if any of y'all know Ian Carroll, I would love to have Ian Carroll on the podcast to talk about how they are manipulating the stock market. I was a stock guy for a long time, and I saw all that stuff. And it was one of the reasons I'm glad I got out. But it's a total Ponzi scheme scam. And it's totally a redistribution of wealth project. That's all the stock market is. There's no 8% rate of return. And I don't care what your financial, I don't care what Dave Ramsey says. Dave Ramsey he's right on some things, but he's just not a smart guy. In order to achieve a totally predictable economy, the low-class elements of society must be brought under total control. Must be housebroken, trained, and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very early age before they have opportunity to question the propriety of the matter. In order to achieve such conformity, the lower class family unit must be disintegrated.
Wow.
The lower class family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents. Remember when I said it's very expensive to train your children? Yeah, I sacrificed all of my hobbies, all the things I like to do, all of it, all my preoccupations. I sacrificed all of them to be a husband and a father because God wanted me to be that. God created me to be that. And the world, frankly, needs me to be that. The world, the next generation, if we're going to keep breathing air and being productive and doing all these things, this is quintessential.
Yeah, I would say it's our moral obligation and duty.
It's your biblical duty. The family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupations of the parents and the establishment of government-operated daycare centers for the occupationally orphaned children. So, Faith, how do your children become occupationally orphaned? What's that look like? How does that work?
Mom goes to work.
Oh, dual income. Oh, mom forsakes her God-ordained and designed duty of keeping the home and literally blasphemes the scriptures and goes to get a job because it's such a noble thing.
We know just from basic psychology as well that from birth to 5 years old is when the personality of a child is formed. They're actually forming all of those neural pathways in their brain that will affect their personality is completely formed at 5 years old. So from birth to 5 is so important. And, as a whole, our country has decentivized mothers to stay home with their children from birth to 5, in selling them the early childhood education. And the more they can learn at 2 and 3 years old, I mean, if they can sing their ABCs at 2 and 3 years old, they're just going to have such a head start, and it's like, that's so backwards and so wrong. Like, those children need to be with their mother in a good, healthy, nurturing environment. And they need to be able to cry to their mother, to curl up on her lap and take naps. They do not need to be put in a room with 10, 20 other little children of the same age, and the abuse and the neglect that goes on, even in the best situations. Yep. My sister was a single mother and she worked in childcare at a really nice facility. But even in the best situation, she just was heartbroken every single day for these little children that just, they wanted to be with their moms.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
And it says occupationally orphaned children. Okay. Just in case you came in the middle, I'm not reading sermon notes from Charles Spurgeon.
Right.
I'm not reading something written by John Trapp. I'm reading a government white paper. All right. By design. So when they talk about daycare centers for occupationally orphaned children, this was the end game. This was the goal. And you got all these fourth wave crazy feminists out there, and they act like if you talk about this order, like you hate women and blah, blah, blah. No, you hate society. You hate the proliferation of humanity. They're telling you they're going to occupationally orphan your children. The quality of education given to the lower class must be the poorest sort, so that the moat of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. And this is the trivium and the quadrivium, what they used to teach in the single room schoolhouses that they no longer teach. You can listen to John Taylor Gatto and all that stuff. And the other lady, the intentional dumbing down of America. They talk about all this stuff. It was totally intentional, and it was by design, and it was by the social planners, right? And oh yeah, now they have 5G and they have GMO. Okay, cool. Yeah. And that stuff's bad. But if you fix all that and the home and if your children are still occupationally orphaned, you lose, they lose, the world loses. Mm-hmm. Descriptive introduction of the silent weapon. Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. It shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of chemical reactions, originating from bits of data. This is all about the technocracy, y'all. Like, if we can harvest enough data and we can P-mine you, we can predict you, we can nudge you, we can push you. You know, there's push notifications. That push is the manipulation. If we can create your Twitter feed, right? And you can just watch black people punching old ladies in the face all day. Yeah. Oh, that happens to you? Yeah. That's what they do. That is social engineering. When, like, how in the world is everything in my Twitter feed like young black people punching old white ladies in the face? You know, and that's the push. That's the nudge. And there's nothing good about that. And you can say all you want about Elon. It's all being created, y'all. It's being created. And it's on X, the bastion of free speech. It makes no obvious. And the apparatus that flow all of these social medias. Now, look, we're using it for good. We're using it to the best of our ability. But the underlying apparatus is the beast system. We all saw that in the last 4 years, you know, with all of our check marks and strikes and re-education and all that stuff. You know, we're, you know, and at the same time, I get pumped about doing some like statist jujitsu on them and using it against them. And that, because, you know, because greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And Satan might be the prince and the power of the air, but like, you know, we have a real message we have a real eternal message that matters. And, you know, I'll stop talking about it when I'm dead, you know, and I'm going to teach my boys the same thing. But we cannot acknowledge the social engineering and then just say, oh, you know, if there wasn't, genetically modified this or that. Look, as crazy as deconstructive and as literally the end of humanity, like we cannot eat like God created normal food. And as important as all that is and organic and all that stuff, if we have no home, if we have no order, we might as well be eating crickets, slop, and like milk made from bugs and all that stuff, because it doesn't matter. We could be eating we could have the richest soil and the most organically grazed cows and eating the most puritanical and drinking like melted snow from the glaciers. And if we have no home, and if men aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and men aren't doing what they were created to do. And if women aren't doing what they were created to do, what is the point?
Right. And this is the ideal. Like we're speaking to the bell curve.
Of course.
We're speaking to the ideal of, you know, if you're starting fresh, if you're a young woman watching this or a young man watching this and you have not started a family yet, if you don't know who you're marrying yet or whatever, like this is just we're sharing from past experience, from personal experiences that we've lived through. And we're saying, you know, at approaching 50 years old now, both of us, these are some basic truths in life, and this is the ideal for a husband and a wife to function in this way. Not that everybody will be a husband, not that everybody will be a wife, not that there won't be people outside of this bell curve. There's disaster, there's disease, there's horrible things in life, but we're speaking to the ideal.
Always. And I mean, that's the only way we can develop principles and foundational basics is
sure.
You can't get into every potential minutia and factor. And, you know,
we have all the examples.
What about one-eyed, one-armed lepers with, you know, only the left side of their brain in Mogadishu?
I mean, like, on your side of the family, we have all of different examples of not ideal scenarios. And on my side of the family, I have lots of examples of not ideal scenarios.
But none of those will be an excuse to not do what you can the craziest part is
of what you've been given.
The craziest part is most people just use that as an excuse. You know, and you think of all these people with different challenges that have succeeded greatly, whether it's, you know, they have a fantastic marriage and the guy's like a quadriplegic, right? And he's got this beautiful wife and they got all these kids and you're like, how in the world? And he wasn't like, well, you know, but my circumstances and all this stuff. No, he went and did it anyway. You know what I mean? And so we're going to, so I'm going to fast forward. We could do like 3 or 4 videos on this. It's so, and then there's all these equations, y'all. This is super fascinating stuff.
We could do a little series of this if y'all are interested in it.
Like household models.
Is it worth covering in a series?
Man, it's like super. Yeah, it's so relevant. The theory of the economic shock test. It's like, it's so incredible. I mean, it's wild. And it's like, but it's the dichotomies of life. And maybe we would do that. Let's fast forward to the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to fast forward to the end, and I'll make sure that this is, because there was some interesting. Okay, so this is at the end of the white paper. Enforcement. Factor 1. As in every social system approach, stability is achieved only by understanding and accounting for human nature, action-reaction patterns. A failure to do so can be, and usually is, disastrous. As in other human social schemes, one form or another of intimidation or incentive is essentially to the success of the draft. Physical principles of action and reaction must be applied to both internal and external subsystems. To secure the draft, individual brainwashing programming and both the family unit and the peer group. Notice how they always come back to the family unit, because they know if you deconstruct the family unit, it is the most important unit, y'all. God created the family before he created anything else. And if you deconstruct that, you can't build a good community on a deconstructed family.
Or you could just redefine the term. Like, what is a family?
Of course. What is a woman?
What is a woman? What is a family?
You want to know why nobody knows what, and this is why my skirts and pants stuff, and I won't go into that, but I present that, and it is like super mind judo, and nobody can get out of it because it's absolutely true, and nobody wants to consider it. But it's deconstructionism. It's postmodern deconstructionism. As in other human social schemes, one form or another of intimidation incentive, read that, to secure the draft individual brainwashing program. Factor 2, father. Check this out, y'all. This is an enforcement. This is written down in 50s or the 70s or whenever it was, right? This is their white paper. This was their method. This is their model. The man of the household must be housebroken.
Wow.
To ensure that Junior will grow up with the right social training and attitudes, the advertising media, etc. And the reason like there's women on social media that don't like me is because I'm not housebroken. And I embrace that. I think it's great. Like, I think it's great. And I'm a one-armed maniac. Like, I don't have the physical prowess that I used to have, you know? And Junior will grow up with the right social training and attitudes.
Wow.
And you want to hear an incredible quote?
If the boys are raised by teacher, right?
Yeah.
If the boys are raised by the teacher.
You want to know what Tucker Carlson just told Patrick Bet-David? And I'm going to cue this up and get this, not this video, but Tucker Carlson, this super mainstream normie type of dude, Fox News, blah, blah, blah. And he said, households with strong fathers don't raise wife beaters.
Right.
And he said, single family matriarchal homes raise self-hating, women-hating wife beaters. Sure. And that was Tucker Carlson. That's not like some theologian. That's not some kind of like patriarchal zealot.
Yeah, he just threw it out there as a fact of just, and it makes sense. I mean, if you understand psychology, that a boy needs a father figure, a strong father figure in the home. Strong meaning not tyrant.
No, a man.
But strong, it's that man of steel.
Backbone.
And steel and velvet. It's that man that knows how to be strong and then knows how to listen and convalesce to those people and serve his people as Christ served the church. He knows how to sacrificially serve them.
Christ didn't cave to them.
Right.
Christ didn't change the gospel. No. Christ said, I got to die. I'm born to die. And they're like, what are you talking about? They never got it.
Right.
But he didn't change the story. Well, now that I talk to y'all, I'm not going to die anymore. Let me see. What's a more pleasant? And it's really gross and yucky. And there's going to be lots of blood. Right. And it's going to be really sad. There's going to be lots of tears. And, women are going to cry.
The other thing that I was just thinking of, just going back to some of my personal experience with choosing to stay home and leave the career world and be a stay-at-home mom and homeschooling mom, was I got to have so many different babies, toddlers, children in my home over the years, that I was able to care for them in my home and be a blessing to other women because I was home. And there's been lots of babies in our home over the past 25 years. And it's just been such a blessing. And also my sister, who was a stay-at-home or who was a single mother, I got to be a big part of her little babies' lives when they were little, to keep them out of a daycare situation, an early preschool situation. I got to be that aunt because that was staying home with them and taking care of them along with my little children. And it was a blessing. And also my sister, as a single mother, she opened her home up and took care of many little children over the years in order to stay home with her children. She just said, well, I'm already home. I'll just take in more children to take care of. And that will keep me home. It'll be enough to keep me home. So there's ways to do things.
Oh, there are solutions. There are always solutions. And that's why we're talking about community and parallel economy and parallel community and working together. That's why we have a meetup on June 8th, right? Because we all have different resources, right? And we can all help each other.
We should help each other.
We should help each other. Yeah. It's our Christian duty to love our neighbor and care for each other, right? The advertising media, etc., are engaged to see to it that the father to be is henpecked before or by the time he is married. He is taught to be he either conforms to the social notch cut out for him, or his sex life will be hobbled and his tender companionship will be zero. He is made to see that Women demand security more than logical, principled, and honorable behavior. Y'all, listen to this. That's the enforcement of the father. By the time his son must go to war, father, with jelly for backbone, white paper, y'all, will slam a gun into Junior's hand before father will risk the censure of his peers or make a hypocrite of himself by crossing the investment he has in his own personal opinion or self-esteem. Wow. Junior will go to war or father will be embarrassed. So Junior will go to war, the true purpose notwithstanding. Factor 3, mother. The deconstruction, the silent weapons for quiet wars of the deconstruction of postmodern American home. And home, this isn't a formula for America, y'all. This is a formula for the world. Factor 3, mother. The female element of human society is ruled by emotion first and logic second. In the battle between logic and imagination, imagination always wins. Fantasy prevails. Maternal instinct dominates so that the child comes first and the future comes second. A woman with a newborn baby is too starry-eyed to see a wealthy man's cannon fodder or a cheap source of slave labor. A woman must, however, be conditioned to accept the transition to reality when it comes or sooner. As the transition becomes more difficult to manage, the family unit must be carefully disintegrated. And state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centers must become more common and legally enforced so as to begin the detachment of the child from the mother and the father at an early age. Inoculation of behavioral drugs, Ritalin can speed the transition for the child's mandatory. Caution, a woman's impulsive anger can override her fear. An irate woman's power must never be underestimated, and her power over a henpecked husband must likewise never be underestimated. It got women the vote in 1920. So there you go with my t-shirt for all y'all that have been paying attention. We could make America great again when women wore dresses and weren't allowed to vote. Well, this is a factor in the paper, y'all. I didn't write this, y'all.
You're gonna have like a
John Trapp didn't write this. Charles Spurgeon didn't write
1920 shirt. Like,
yes.
Like 1776.
Make America 1919 again.
Like they have the 1776.
Yeah, Make America 1919 again.
1919.
Junior, the emotional pressure of self-preservation during the time of war and the self-serving attitude of the common herd that have an opinion to avoid the battlefield. If Junior can be persuaded to go, is all of the pressure of finally necessary to propel Johnny off to war. Their quiet blackmailings of him are the threats. No sacrifice, no friends, no glory, no girlfriends. Dude, that's crapped out so bad. Now they got to send all these women to war. See, this was even before that fourth wave. Oh, sister. And what about Junior's sister? She is given to all the good things of life by her father and taught to expect the same from her future husband, regardless of the price. Check that out.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Hyper-consumerism. Cattle. Those who will not use their brains are no better off than those who have no brains. And so the mindless school of jellyfish, father, mother, son, and daughter become useful beasts of burden or trainers of the same.
Wow.
This concludes what is available of this document.
Wow.
So,
and here's the site.
It's stopthecrime.net.
And then if you go down to the bottom, the books that it's citing from is
Studies of the Structure of the American Economy,
1953.
Yeah, and the International, Studies of the Structure of American Economy. But yeah, you look at how they're going to implement. How are they going to enforce all this social engineering? Through the father, the mother, Johnny, and Sissy. They're going to deconstruct the home.
Yep. But that's why it's so important in those books that we're reading. I have the Fascinating Womanhood book that I'm reading. There's also a Fascinating Girlhood book. I'm reading the edition from I think it was printed in 1973. It was originally written in 1963, I think. And my boys are reading through Man of Steel and Velvet, which was written by her husband. And it's so good to read these old books because they tell it how it is.
Yeah.
And even though it's a lot to swallow because we're so far removed from it, y'all, we're not that far removed from it.
And the beauty of reading these older texts, you know, stuff from the 50s and 60s, it's so hilarious. That's how, like,
70s,
but like, you're reading things that aren't politically correct. Hallelujah.
Yes.
I mean, we all Jonah Goldberg and cultural Marxism and all this stuff, and yet we continue to conform to all this cultural Marxism and all this redefining of reality and what is a woman and girl power and transformer trash. And like, when you read something that wasn't wordsmithed,
right, sure,
it's that much more impactful.
Absolutely. And it's not just like these overarching ideals that you can apply any way you want. Like, this is down to the nitty gritty. Like, these aren't these overarching ideals that they had. These are like, here's the plan and here's what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to deconstruct it.
Right. And here's the thing, like, we can read this together and you can like, oh, wow. That's exactly what they did. And there's exactly how they did it. So then what does that mean? Well, that means that power structure and infrastructure is in place and it's in play. And here's the thing, y'all. And this is what's crazy. And I don't want to get too simplistic, but it is as simple as a woman putting on a dress. And I know that sounds way too simplistic, but it's that, like, the steps, the changes you have to make are that simple.
Right. Like,
they're not easy.
Right.
There's a huge difference between simple and easy. They are very hard. They require a lot of sacrifice. And I would even say a woman putting on a dress requires a lot of sacrifice. But there's an inordinate amount of sacrifice. But what are you living for? What are you doing? And we can be all like patriotic and Americana and red, white, and blue, and all these people shed their blood for our freedoms. And there's truth in some of that. A lot of it is propaganda. I mean, a lot of it is propaganda, but so much bigger and greater in that is your son and your daughters and the women and the children and the actual people that make up the country. Because if the people cease to exist, the country will cease to exist. If a community is made up of families, y'all. I don't want a community. I'm not trying to build a community made up of individuals. And look, divorced people are welcome and crazy stuff happens. And yeah, husbands are abusive and you have to leave them. And I get it. And you should. My sister, I begged her for a decade. You know, none of us are immune to any of this stuff. And just because we want to deal in the realm of the fundamental foundational issues, we're all affected by all this stuff. Man has fallen.
Sure.
Man has fallen. And it's not, you know, and when stuff goes down, it goes down. And when people violate God's order, God absolutely does not bless it. God is very merciful and long suffering, and God can redeem and God can rebuild and he can do all those things. He can't do it while you continue to blaspheme him. And I've yet to find anyone explain to me how if a woman is not a keeper at home, and I realize you can get all your postmodern Bible versions to say what you want it to say so that it works in whatever construct that you've built in your little chambers of your imagery or whatever. But I haven't been able to find anybody to explain to me how, like, if a woman isn't a keeper of the home and a keeper at home, how she's not blaspheming the scriptures, because she certainly cannot fulfill her created design.
Right. And it's interesting, those terms that have gotten hijacked too. Like it used to be said, you know, her vocation at home, her career at home.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that long ago when in even secular public government schools, they had home economics and they taught the young women how to run and manage a home. Like these things are just lost on our society as a whole today. And they're the things that we want to get back to. You know, they're the things that I feel like it's taken us almost a lifetime to really learn. And we're still learning it. You're still learning how to be a godly Christian man. And I'm still learning how to be a godly Christian woman. And it changes. And I know someone's mentioning grandparents.
Yeah. And how impactful, you know, I was a Texas farmer. She mentioned that. I mean, once you've establish your children in the faith in a biblical order, right? And then so they're enacting these principles, and then they seek out a help that is aligned with that same ideal and goal, or maybe not quite, but you have to like instruct them because that's what the Bible says, y'all. And I know a lot of women have a problem with that and they don't want to listen to men. And, you know, I have my own relationship with God and I just got to listen to the Holy Spirit. Well, that's not what the Bible says, y'all. It doesn't say that. I mean, yeah, there is a hint of truth to that. There is a hint of truth to that. But when you systematically read through it, it says if a woman should learn anything, let her ask her husband at home. That's who you're supposed to learn from. That's his job. And if he shirks out his responsibility, that's his fault. And he has to pay the consequences for that. But he should be fluid and fluent enough to be able to do that. He should take the time and know enough and study enough himself, right? But that doesn't mean that you get to like go off the reservation. You know what I mean? There's still the order, the created order still exists. And, you know, we're not going to belabor the point. Maybe we'll get back into this document at a later day.
There's a lot to it. This is really
good.
It
is so incredibly fascinating.
Yes.
And I thought this was such a great topic. And I always like having my wife here so that people like to paint the impression that I'm some kind of misogynistic woman hater. But people that know me in real life and that meet me at the meetups are like, wow, you're not a narcissistic, misogynist woman hater. You're a really
nice guy.
You're like a really nice guy. But at the same time, we must be very straightforward and accurate in what we say. There's no reason like that. There's not enough time. There's not enough time to explain. Well, okay. So before I say this, let me explain, you know, and I got to have this 20-minute introduction.
I mean,
what I'm not referring to is this person. And I know that this over here. And that
we're living in the same world that y'all are living in. Yeah. We're living in the broken world with broken families all around us. So we have a firm grasp on reality.
But we love and appreciate y'all. John, I don't know how you didn't know about the meetup. It is June 8th. I won't know what rock you've been under, but go to TheTexasBoys.com. And we love and appreciate y'all. If you love our content, it is value for value. Go on over to the website. Hopefully we have the processing thing figured out. And if you need coffee, tea, honey, whatever, some highly consumable, high quality product that would bless your family. If you're going to buy it anywhere, buy it over there. It helps us. Comes from one homestead or other homesteads to your home. Yes. And we love and appreciate y'all. And we will see y'all on the next video.